Welcome to the Business Heroes Podcast. Power up your business and change the world.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. This is, of course, as always, Jared Elrod. So today, as you can probably tell, I'm not in my usual studio. I'm actually in my mobile studio, aka my car. I'm actually just kind of driving around like the back roads out in the country behind my town. So sometimes it's a Monday, I should say that, and I work through most of, I don't know, this last week I've kind of been in a little bit of a work funk, so got a ton of work done last Monday, and then the rest of the week was kind of downhill. So sometimes, next Monday comes around, got to reset, and sometimes I like to just go grab something from the grocery store, and then just go for a drive. Grab a little snack, grab something to drink, throw in an audiobook. And so that's what I was doing, maybe once a month or, every other month. I don't know. I'll do that just to kind of recharge, go for a little drive, collect my thoughts. I find it pretty helpful. So if you're stuck in a rut or feeling burnt out, I know that's something that can happen a lot, especially in the beginning when you're not feeling like you're having the success you're wanting and, things feel like they're harder than they should be. And, it's a good thing to do sometimes, just to, recharge. I've learned that having a schedule and a plan is great and probably necessary for success. But at the same time, if you stick to it too closely, it can also cause you to burn out and just quit altogether. So I actually saw a quote. I guess it's a quote, but I saw a Twitter response from Richard Branson this morning. Kind of goes with what I'm talking about, and then I'll get into the actual podcast topic. Anyways, someone asked him about the 80-20 rule and if he applies it to his own business. And he said that he generally tries not to follow rules, with the exception of putting people first and having a blast at whatever he does. That was kind of interesting because now I don't 100% agree, obviously. And for myself, I know to be able to keep any semblance of discipline and organization in my business, I'm a big on the to-do list and systems and all that kind of stuff to keep me motivated. But at the same time, I think that if you take it too seriously and never allow yourself any flexibility, that can become just as damaging as having no plan. So when I first started my business, I was just winging it. I used to be a youth pastor, which most of you probably know if you've been listening, and I was horrible at the organization, and so I just kind of winged everything, and I got really good at putting out fires to the point where I convinced myself that that was just my organization style, and that of course wasn't the case. So going into the business, I started doing it. I was just doing freelance jobs here and there. I would just wing it. And then as I got a little busier and I started getting more work, I started having more of a hard time keeping up with it. I started having to get organized, especially, when I'm dealing with clients and, people have paid me to do this or do that. Especially, like I said in the beginning, pretty much my business was 100% just service-based, doing freelance work for clients. So it wasn't like I was just letting myself down by not hitting a date. I also had clients I had to, keep happy. So I had to learn really quickly. And so one of the things I did is I spent a ton of time with learning to-do lists and learning how to keep organized. And I've had to learn a couple things about the flexibility of them. One, for me, I had to switch it up. A certain type of to-do list only works for me for every few weeks. So I still have my main structure, but sometimes I use digital, sometimes I use a notebook, sometimes I use little pieces of paper. I have to have, still, even in my world of constantness and organization, I have to throw in some artificial chaos and change so I don't feel constricted. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Or maybe if you're feeling, I don't know. I'll sometimes just wake up on a Monday and, I did something a certain way for the last week that worked really well, or the last couple weeks, and I'm just not feeling it. And, in the beginning, I would just force it because I'm like, no, this is my business. This is the way I work. And I've had to realize and come to grips with the fact of, every day is not the same. I mean, this isn't a 9 to 5 job. That's the beauty of it. So if I wake up one day, for example, last Monday, I got up at 3 a.m. I did that for a few days, and it was working fantastic. I mean, by 6 o'clock, I normally put, this isn't a hard, fast rule, but I normally try to keep my to-do list, no more than 6 things. And, out of those, a couple of them will be bigger half-day tasks, and some of them will be small, or, like email this person back, or invoice this person. So, with my standard six to-do list, I just get up at 3. I mean, by 6 a.m., my kids start getting up around 6:30 now, and so around 6 a.m., I was 75% done with my list for the day. And then my kids got up, and I took like an hour or two off with them. I got them breakfast. I think I hung out with them a little bit. I did some reading. And then my wife got up. I got back to work. I went back to my to-do list. And by noon, by lunchtime, I was done for the day. And it was awesome. I didn't have to, spend the rest of the day. Well, so then for the rest of the week, so like I said, I did that a couple days in a row. And then I did it over the weekend. I did it on Monday. Monday of last week was my last successful day of doing that. And then I just was like, oh, this is who I am now. I'm the guy that gets up at 3 a.m. And I just could not do it. I was hitting snooze. I was coming up with excuses of why I needed to sleep longer. It was not working. And I spent a week just fighting it all week long. And, over this weekend, I kind of was like, you know what? I need to be a little more flexible. And I woke up today just not feeling really the work vibe. And it dawned on me, as it does from time to time, this is my business. Yes, I have to get the work done. Yes, I need to not just go off and play disc golf all day or whatever. Read books all day, as nice as that would be. But at the same time, I can run it the way I want to run it, and I need to recharge today. I had quite a bit both last night and this morning. I was, talking to several people. In fact, I'll get into that here in a minute, one of the topics. And I just needed some time to recharge. So here I am. I'm driving around. Like I said, listening to some podcasts. Had my little morning snack. Driving around, having a good time. Just looking at. I live in the Central Valley, so it's not the most inspiring scenery, but at the same time, as I'm talking right now, I think I don't know what that is. A fox just ran across the road, so that's kind of cool. You don't see that every day. Just recharging. Got some sunlight. Anyways, okay, that was it for that. What was that? I don't know. What was I saying? Flexibility, schedule, driving around. Oh yeah, so I'm out in my car, not in the studio. So as you can tell, the lower quality. Okay, back on track. So today what I wanted to talk about, that almost turned into like a little segment right there, which, I'm sure there's one or two of you out there who needed that. But what I want to talk about today is, I was talking to a entrepreneur, someone getting started, I guess kind of restarting last night. I was talking to Sarah, and Sarah is from Australia, so that was pretty cool. So it's like, of course I'll make some time to Facebook message you. You're from Australia. That sounds awesome. Anyways, so she kind of reached out. She'd seen some videos, some interviews, some Google Hangouts I'd been in. And so she was kind of struggling. And so her story was basically that she had started a business. It was an online, like, health food and nutrition type business. And she started with her mom. And it was, moderately successful. I mean, it wasn't, I believe she said they were breaking even. So, of course, at that point, you're breaking even. So all you got to do is fine tune and start making some money. You're at zero, right? That's the hard part, is climbing out of the hole when you start a business. So she's ready to go, just figure out what to do to make some more money, and then there you go. Problem is, she didn't like it. It's causing conflict. I believe she said, don't hold me to this, I believe she said that it was kind of causing problems between her and her mom, which I could imagine, like, oh my gosh, trying to run a business with my dad, that would not be pretty. So I could totally empathize with her situation. So even though she had what would be a pretty successful, like I said, she started this online business and got it to break even, and that was a great point to build it and grow it from there. She shut it down because she realized that's not what she wants to do. It wasn't what was going to make her happy, and ultimately it wasn't going to strengthen her relationship with her mom. If anything, it was going to hurt it. So she moved on. So she's talking to me. Excuse me. She's talking to me about what she really wants to do, how she wants to get into digital marketing, which of course is where I got my start. And so she was just kind of asking the same questions I had when I was starting off, like, how do I get started? What do I do? How do I deal with, I don't have professional training. What if I don't feel like I'm good enough to start, start charging clients? All those questions that I'm sure every one of you went through, and I went through for sure. It was almost like talking to myself. It was like a mirror. It was funny. So anyways, I was kind of talking with her, so I wanted to kind of go through some of that, because I'm sure there's probably a lot of you out there listening who are probably still in that phase. And that's really where my heart goes out to, at least at this point in my business, because it wasn't that long ago that I was there, where I didn't know, and it was like, I told all my friends and family, and, that was, I'm an entrepreneur, and I started up a business. But really, it was kind of like the flavor of the month, or even the flavor of the couple of weeks of what it was I was doing. I was just trying things. Excuse me. I was just trying things, and I didn't feel like I actually had a business. I felt like I was hustling. Sometimes I made money. Sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I had no money, no clients, no prospects. Sometimes I felt like, I have some business, and now I'm overwhelmed because I don't know how to do it all, and I didn't charge enough, so I still don't have enough money to pay all the bills, and now I can't even go out and find more money because I'm booked. And I remember just sometimes that kind of hopelessness, that feeling of hopelessness. So I'm going to go over a few things that I talked to Sarah about, and a couple pieces of advice things that I did to get out of my rut. So back when I first started, we'll back up here a little bit. If you listen to my other podcast, you can have a little bit of idea of my backstory. If not, go back and listen to them. You can get the 411 on what I'm talking about. But anyways, I remember at the time just feeling stuck. So anyways, just, talking to Sarah, I was really just empathizing and recognizing a lot of these questions, again, of my own self, my own situation from not that long ago. So I kind of wanted to go through a few things and a couple pieces of advice I gave her, and kind of explain how it worked and how I used it, because I was kind of thinking about it, and even though the advice I gave her was stuff that I actually did to help kind of pull myself out of it and help me kind of figure out how to create my business, I feel like without the backstory, or without me giving you the example, it kind of can seem cliche, or just like that stereotypical vague, like, it's easy for you to say you're successful and you can just drop down some advice, but, that doesn't help that much. Because I remember being there and getting advice, and I was like, yeah, whatever, okay. So anyways, so one of the things I talked about is just start doing something. Like, she talked about all of her fears of not being, good enough to charge, and how does she get started, and all this kind of stuff. And I spent so much time stuck with that, and so much time just jumping from business idea to business idea, that I just had to start. So I started off as a social media marketer. And honestly, I think I had one client that I actually did social media marketing for. And even that, it was in a bundle. So I was like I redid their website. Took care of their social media marketing, like their email marketing. And so even that it was just like a third of a 3-part bundle. So I never really did a lot of actual social media marketing, even though I spent a ton of time doing it for one client. It was never a main core of my business. I very quickly jumped over to just more of like, digital marketing stuff. Just helping people like set stuff up, getting their marketing set up. A big thing that I really enjoyed for a while and I was helping people with was getting their free offers, their download offers set up, and getting their autoresponder set up, and just that kind of stuff. Helping these people who had a business but needed some more of these systems set up. I'd spent so much time learning all this stuff, setting up one entrepreneur fake business after another that it was pretty good. So I just started doing that, and one thing led to another, and I started specializing and getting the word out. And but anyways, so she even asked, she's like, because one of the videos she saw and kind of the reason she reached out is because I was launching my email mastery course, and she's like, well, how'd you end up like getting on email? And I was thinking to myself, it's like, well, first off, I don't think of, I ended up on email, but that just happened to be the interview she saw of the course I was launching. And of course I had plans, to launch. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. So the point is, how did I come up with email? Well, the point is, how I came up with email is like I was saying, I started trying to do WordPress stuff, and then that didn't really work. And then I started trying to do social media marketing stuff, and then that didn't really work. And then I got that one client, and that kind of, taught me a few things and taught me what I didn't like. And then that led into some digital marketing, which then led into consulting, which then led into me doing a lot of sales and business development because I just needed, I needed to pay the bills while I figured out some of this other stuff. And that gave me a lot of experience, which added on to my past job experience with doing email and sales and, digital marketing stuff. And then that, led to me being able to do the course because I'd spent so much time doing this stuff for my business, for other people's business, that I was like, let me create a course. That was my desire from all along, was to create some information products that could help the most amount of people. And it failed the first time because I didn't have enough of real life experience to back it up. I knew the technical skills, so I could teach someone how to do it, but I didn't have the real life experience to back it up. So after doing that for a while, and I talked to Noah in that video that she saw, I was like, I did it to the point to where I can't take on too many more clients. I'm kind of booked. If I take on more clients, my life's going to be a nightmare. So I'm going to create the course based off of it. He's like, perfect. That's exactly what you need to do. And that's how I did it, is I started doing something. Because when I started out, I was immobilized by, what is the perfect thing? What is my AppSumo? What am I going to build I'm going to do for the rest of my life? And, it dawned on me. I'm just going to piggyback on Noah's journey here so you can kind of follow my thought process. And again, hopefully this is helping someone. Is I really just started looking at him. Okay, so he, after he got fired from Facebook, and he went off and he had several businesses that were, different levels of success. None of them were his legacy, his his Facebook business that he started, and I believe got up to be $1 million, and he was living on the beach and in wherever it was, and, thought he had arrived and made it good until Facebook, made an example of them and, blocked them from Facebook and overnight kind of killed their business. That wasn't his legacy. That wasn't his thing. But guess what? He would have never made it to AppSumo if he hadn't have started off with that stuff. If he had said, I don't really see myself doing this Facebook business, and you know what? Screw Facebook anyways for firing me. Here's an opportunity, but this isn't me. He would have never, presumably, gotten to the idea and the point of AppSumo, or it had even the skills to do it. And even now with AppSumo, so at the time of this recording, this is the end of October, the end of 2014, AppSumo isn't really even what it started out as. He started AppSumo out on his couch just as an email list, and he was doing Groupon for designers and programmers, where he was doing these bundles. And then he quickly changed it from bundles to just single deals. And then from that, he grew that to be extremely successful. From just these little deals, they started creating, with Neville's help, they started creating all these courses, which then got them the reputation, but because of his backstory and because he had created these other businesses that, not that they're crappy, but we'll just say for the example for, these crappy businesses that aren't his, main thing in life. Between that and then this thing that's growing, Now all of a sudden he has a reputation for a guy who knows how to start a business. He started a few businesses successfully. He's put out some courses on it. Well, then it turned into the How to Make Your First Dollar, and then of course got rebranded into Monthly 1K. And then from that, now that they're doing this the Sumo Me plugins, so now he's got this huge platform, which it's just the very tip, the beginning that at this point we've seen. I'm sure eventually this thing's gonna be huge. Like I remember last year just making that prediction that this thing's gonna turn into a platform. It's gonna be huge, and it's already starting to turn into that. All based off of the fact that he started doing something. And that's exactly how I got to answer, Sarah's question, how I got to doing this email course, is because I did stuff. Like, even though they weren't the successes I was wanting, it was some success. And even though they weren't the jobs and the gigs I was wanting, because I wanted to, this whole other idea, it led to that. So for those of you out there who are just like paralyzed and aren't doing anything, and trust me, like I remember sitting there going, what do I want my brand to be? I need to write the right domain so I can get the right logo, so I can be as cool as AppSumo, and like I'm gonna get this one brand, and I don't want to sell my business. I want it to be this brand I'm gonna have forever. So like it needs to be right the first time. And I just, like I said, became paralyzed with all that junk, that it held me back from doing anything forever. Like I spent my first, I would say a good 6 months of my business. Well, maybe not. Maybe the first 4 or so months of after I got fired and I decided to create a business, really just playing mind games of trying to figure out what I wanted to do, trying this for like 2 seconds and then jumping around. It wasn't until I actually committed to something and went out and got my first client, and which then led to my second client and my third client, and then, my fourth or fifth client, and then I started going, let me change this up a little bit, and then each of those clients, it was a little bit different. I'd pivot a little bit more based off of my experience with the last client. It was all one thing building on another. So now there's 2 examples of my business and then my perception of Noah's business from the outside. Examples of just guys just doing something and not sitting around just waiting. In fact, I'll give one more example. I haven't read the book yet. I've skimmed through the book and I haven't picked it up yet. I was looking at it the other day at Barnes & Noble. Girl Boss. I can't even remember her name now because, like I said, I was like, I got to buy this book. No more books until January of 2015. I've got too many. I've got a whole stack I'm trying to finish. But this is the one of mine. And every time I go to the bookstore, I'll read a few pages. And, I'm to the point where I might even break my own rule, go out and get this book. But anyways, so I was reading through it. Can't remember the lady's name, but I believe the business is Nasty Gal. And it's a fashion business. And apparently it's a big deal in the fashion industry. So the one thing I was reading where she's talking about how she never set out to create some, huge fashion business that was going to be trend setting. She didn't start that. She started an eBay store. And that's what it turned into. And she was talking about how when she was first starting, if she would have known, she would have been like, holy crap, no way, I don't want to do that. That's not what I'm trying to do. But it grew, she became the person that she needed to be to get there. So, yeah, you may be sitting back, so like back to Sarah's example, she wants to go out and do digital marketing. She doesn't feel like she's good enough yet. Well, maybe she's not good enough to take on a huge client, act as a advertising agency, and manage huge accounts. But you know what? I guarantee you there's a few businesses out there that she is good enough to do and to take on. And then as she learns and grows, just like in that Nasty Gal, the Girl Boss story, to where she started out with an eBay store. Anyone can start an eBay store. She learned how to do it successfully. It turned into a fashion business, a trend-setting fashion business. So you got to ask yourself, what is your eBay store to get to your fashion business? obviously apply this to yourself. So if you're trying to create a design agency, what is that 1 or 2 Fiverr gigs you can get started doing illustrations for people or redesigning something for people? And then once you master that, and you get to that next level, level 1 or level 2 seller, and they open up, the ability to do upgrades or add-ons or whatever it is. Sorry, I haven't used Fiverr in a couple months. And then you start making more money, and then you grow, and then you turn that into your actual design business. Same thing if you're a developer, you're doing WordPress, you can start off the same way. So obviously Fiverr's not for every business. What's your Fiverr? What's your eBay? What's your Craigslist? Whatever it may be. For me, it was the AppSumo entrepreneur, too many words that have been coming out of my mouth. What am I trying to say? The monthly 1K business group. That was the platform I started my business off of. It's just helping other entrepreneurs. So now here's multiple examples. I started with one little Facebook group that at the time only had like 1,900 or 1,800 students in it. Now it's well over 3,000. By the time you're listening to this, it's probably like 2 bajillion because Noah's awesome. But it was like 1,800 people. That's what I started with. We got the example of the eBay store. I know multiple people who start with Fiverr stores. Etsy is, another platform. And again, I'm not saying go out and build your business off someone's platform. I'm just saying take immediate action now. And if your excuse is, I don't have an audience, where can you find one? That was kind of that platform example to start off with. So do something, and it will lead into even doing the wrong thing is a better way to get to the right thing than doing nothing. Okay, I think I'm done with that. And then I think there was one other. Okay, yeah. This is such a core value for me. The other thing is just not giving up. So I kind of gave her some advice, and then she said, "Oh, so I'm hearing from you is that I'm gonna end up being successful in what I'm doing." And she was kind of saying it a little jokingly, but basically because our stories were so similar, she was like, "Oh, so what I'm hearing from you is that I'm going to end up being successful because I'm kind of doing the same thing as you." And I told her, I was like, "Well, that's 100% up to you. Like, no one else dictates whether you're going to be successful or not." I was like, the number one driving factor to my success is just, like, perseverance, like, not giving up. Like, I remember just failing and failing and failing and being down and having a bad day and being like, man, I told my wife that I had this pitch out there, and I was hoping it was going to come through, and then we were going to be able to go out and get a few things we needed. And then they said no. And then, like, I don't even want to walk out of my office. I didn't even have it out my office at the time. I hadn't even had that set up. I was just working out my couch in the living room. And I was like, I don't even want to, like, I need a break. My back hurts. I've been sitting all day on this couch. I don't even want to put the laptop down and take a break and stretch my legs because I'm going to bump into her. I'm going to be like, yeah, so we can't go buy the kids those new shoes that you're wanting because they said no. But it was perseverance. Like, I didn't give up. And so I had people, like, offer me jobs. I had my old job that I'd gotten fired from just a few months later offer me my job back a couple times. I had, like, family members who were like, hey, this place is, for a while, oh my gosh, it was like, I just had at least once a week a family member going, hey, this place is hiring. You should go put an app in. And it was the fact that I was like, no, I am going to make this work. I believe I can do this. I may not be doing it right now. I may not even be capable of doing it right now. But if I keep working at it, I'm going to be able to do this. Like, there's no reason I can't become the person that can be successful at this. And I think that's right there. That one thing alone, I think, could speak to a lot of people is who feel like I don't have what it takes to be successful. And, there's so many things like, oh, yes, you do. You can do whatever. No, I agree. There's a chance that you probably don't. I'll let that sink in for a second. You're probably right. If you're thinking that you don't have what it takes to be successful, you're probably right. But that doesn't mean that you can't go out and get what it takes. When I first started, it took me several years because I just had to change my mindset. So my first couple years of getting into the business, my entrepreneur phase, was literally just reading stuff, watching stuff. I didn't even know what this stuff was. Like, I had to learn the different concepts. I had to learn what was what. And so before I could even start my first failed business, I had to go out and learn what any of this stuff was. And it was a learning process for sure. But that's just like a kid, right? Like, you learn how to do things by seeing someone else do it, your parents do it, your grandparents do it, your big brother or sister do it, and then you start imitating. And then you see the example, you start imitating, you start getting better, Same thing with riding a bike. You see other people do it, you put on training wheels, so at that point you're really just kind of fake bike riding. And then eventually you get to where you can ride a bike, and then, maybe you grow up and ride a motorcycle. So, don't let the fact that you feel like, first off, don't let the fact that you feel like you can't do it hold you back. Second off, don't be naive and say, oh, I have exactly what it takes, I can do it, and then, go out and try something that's unrealistic for you. Like, I know one thing, just for seeing so many critiques of business ideas through Noah's course, and just seeing, the little hangouts and stuff where he'll go through people's business ideas, the one question I hear all the time is, so they'll say, this is my idea, I'm going to do this. And then he's like, okay, how many people, let's just say it's a real estate agents. Oh, I'm going to build this software thing for real estate agents. Okay, cool. How many real estate agents do you know? None. Okay, so how many real estate agents are in your area? Well, I don't know. I'm sure there's some, obviously. Okay. Why are you trying to do something for real estate agents when you're not in that circle at all? Oh, I had this idea. He's like, who do you know? Well, I know. And then that's, you can see where the story's going. So, I don't even know what the point of that was. That was my point. Is, don't be naive. And don't be like, oh, well, Jared said that you just have to keep going, so I'm just going to keep building this software for real estate agents. But at the same time, don't get down. Don't ever stop. But you also have to grow. You have to learn. Like, if you're hardcore set, obviously Noah's advice would be from, what he's actually said as advice would be move to something else that you actually know people in the industry. But let's just say for some reason you're just dead set with real estate agents. Okay, get involved with real estate agents. Maybe become a real estate agent yourself, or just go out and start hanging out with real estate agents. Go to their office, offer to help out, seriously, how hard would this be? Granted, you may have a few people just be suspicious until you go away, but chances are you're not going to have to knock more than a few doors on a few of these bigger real estate agent firms before, you walk in and say, hey, my name's so-and-so, I'm an aspiring entrepreneur. My plan is to one day to have software, blah, 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 for entrepreneur. I want to build software to help real estate agents, but I need to learn the trade. What can I do to help out? Oh, we're not hiring. No, that's fine. I just want to volunteer, so I can learn. I'll make cold calls. I'll set appointments. I'll get the coffee. Just what can I do to be here, to hang out, and to help, to learn? Come on. How many times do you think you're going to have to make that pitch before someone takes you up on it? And then probably would end up turning into a job. And you're going to start meeting real estate people. Look up real estate kind of hangouts. Do some research to find out where they meet. What do they do? Do real estate people golf? Again, I come from a ministry background. And senior pastors and a lot of youth pastors, me not being included, love to golf. Now, I'm a disc golfer. Other than mini golf, and I don't even really enjoy that. I just want to hit the ball as hard as I can. Driving range, cool. Golfing, no. But if I was wanting to really hit some of these senior youth or senior pastors to where, they're the guys that are really influential, I would need to start golfing. I would need to go hang out in golf clubs and golf ranges, courses. There we go. Driving range, golf course. To get around that scene. So that I guess is what I'm saying with that is like action, taking action, not giving up. And then, okay, my last specific point back to what I'm talking about, we'll wrap this up, is, sorry, it's the problem with doing this while driving. Sometimes I forget what I was going to say. My last point to wrap this up was that's right, always just be growing and improving, like work on who you are. And like I said, I'll say it one more time, because I think it's kind of profound. Go tweet this. Tag me in it, whatever. Or, that's Facebook. You get the point. When you feel like you don't have what it takes to be successful, you might be right, but you can change that. So go out and become what it takes. So with that, that'll be my last point. So today, on my little random spur of the moment in the car, mobile studio, episode here, we talked about flexibility in your schedule and your to-do list, recharging your batteries and just getting out there and recharging when, things are just sluggish. Take a break, go do something. And then we talked about, for starting out, we talked about 2 tips. One, I don't even remember at this point, but we talked about 2 tips. And so the whole, action, take action, do something. It's easier to fail your way into success. It's easier to get to what you're supposed to do by doing the wrong thing than by doing nothing. It's virtually impossible to find out what you want to do while doing nothing. I would say impossible, but I don't know, maybe there's one case out there somewhere that happened 100 years ago or something. But so I'll just say virtually impossible. And then secondly, self-improvement. Keep going. If you have a goal and you don't have what it takes to get there, get the skills or the whatever it takes to get there. So, all right, that's it. So if you want more of this, of course, check. If this is your first time listening, thank you so much. You can check it out on iTunes. Also, my website, nateideas.com. I have all the episodes posted there, as well as blogs and more information about my courses and personal coaching and all that kind of stuff, consulting or whatnot. So yeah, check it out. And until next time, I will see you guys, next time.
Thank you so much for listening to the Business Heroes podcast. If you enjoyed the show today, please head over to iTunes and give us a rating and review. It really helps to help get the word out there. And of course, feel free to share this with any of your friends on any of your preferred social networks. And if you're looking for more information about the Business Heroes podcast, where you can find more episodes and kind of more about what we do, check out bizdevheroes.com. That's BIZDEV heroes.com. Once again, thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.